Hi there, welcome to Rumor Spill. Following the unexpected demise of Big Juke, the whole music industry was thrown into a state of mourning. When the shock waves reached Yogatti, he discovered that he was at the heart of a frenzy of requests for information. The CMG team, who had been a vibrant force in Memphis, left in a polite exodus, leaving behind no notable figures in their path upon their departure. Concerning the supposed confrontation that involved Big Juke, however, there were rumors that circulated, which sparked both intrigue and conjecture. As our investigation progresses, the warning signs that were disregarded and ultimately led to Big Juke's demise become more apparent. At first, his death was thought to have been the result of a carefully planned assassination rather than a chance occurrence. On the other hand, fate had a surprise in store for us. The enormous bounty of $40,000 placed on young Dolph's head threw their lives into disarray and intertwined their destinies in ways that were not anticipated. Anthony Big Juke Mims, the brother of the legendary rapper Yogatti, passed away, which caused a shockwave to go across the music business. A horrific shooting took place on January 13, 2024, which cruelly brought an end to his life. One of the most important aspects of the story of Big Juke's downfall is the intricate web of the street battle, which includes young Dolph and the Yogatti group. Beyond being Yogatti's sibling, Anthony Mims, often known as Big Juke, was a multifaceted individual. The loss of his life, which occurred in a sad manner outside of Perron's restaurant in Memphis, caused shock and sorrow to spread among his family, friends, and family members alike. A major figure, whose passing occurred as he was leaving the funeral of his late uncle Eric Eugene Boven, is being mourned by those members of the community. Big Juke, a very skilled individual, contributed significantly to Yogatti's collective music group, which resulted in him leaving an unforgettable impression on the music industry. It was essential for him to play a part in fostering and developing up-and-coming talent. It was common knowledge that he had a strong relationship with Yogatti, which served as evidence of their unshakable brotherly tie. The contributions that Big Juke made to the development of Collective Music Group, which was founded in 2012, were quite important. He was responsible for the label's success, which included the signing of musicians such as Moneybagg Yo, Black Youngsta, and Glorilla, respectively. They worked together to weather the storms that the music industry brought, building a path through the highs and lows of the industry. Big Juke was well known not just for his accomplishments in the profession, but also for his charismatic personality and his excellent ability to interact with individuals. One of his many qualities that left an indelible mark on the people he came into contact with was his ability to make everyone feel as though they were important and cherished.
Both his musical expertise and his quick ability to recognize talent were extremely useful assets to the record firm. Big J was fatally shot outside of Perron's restaurant on the dreadful day of January 13, 2024, after attending the funeral of his late uncle Eric Eugene Boven. This tragic event brought about an unfathomable tragedy. Shockwaves were sent across the music industry as a result of this terrible occurrence, which has left a gap that cannot be filled. A rising number of issues regarding the reason for the targeted attack are emerging as the investigations into his terrible murder continue to unfold. There have been rumors that link the death of Big Juke to the murder of Memphis rapper Young Dolph in 2021. This adds another degree of intricacy to a scenario that was already quite complicated. Another person, Young Dolph, was killed in a shooting that occurred just a few minutes after Big Juke was victimized. Because of this synchronicity, rumors began to circulate that there was a connection between the two tragedies. These rumors were further fanned by the claimed competition that existed between Yogatti and Young Dolph. A cascade of comments of shock and sorrow swamped social media as the news of Big Juke's passing went over the internet.
During the time when the music community and fans were waiting for Yogatti to respond to this tragedy, he chose to remain mute in public and instead mourn in private. During this time, members of the community expressed their condolences and shared their recollections of the cherished figure. Graphic photographs and videos taken at the scene of the crime, which showed Big Juke's motionless body, started making their way around the internet. The insensitivity of distributing content that was so horrific had a global impact, causing widespread horror and outrage. Greasy P2K14, a user of social media, expressed his dissatisfaction and pointed out the detrimental effect that it had on the mental health of the general public. It was speculated that followers of young Dolph were the ones responsible for disseminating these photographs. However, the reasons for their actions are still currently unknown. A larger discussion regarding the accountability of individuals in the digital era was sparked as a result of the occurrence, particularly in connection to the sharing of sensitive content on social networking platforms. As the investigation into Big Juke's death continues, it is becoming increasingly important to remember the actual people and feelings that are behind each photograph that is posted. It is impossible to ignore the potential for such content to cause trauma and that it can have an impact. Therefore, digital involvement requires empathy and sensitivity. Due to the fact that young Dolph, Yogatti's old competitor, was murdered in 2021, there have been suspicions that link Big Juke's murder to Hernandez Goin, the individual who is believed to be responsible for Dolph's death. Goin and Big Juke may have a connection, according to debates that have taken place online. Speculation has been heightened as a result of Big Juke's foreboding Instagram message that was posted shortly before his death. With a comment that alluded to betrayal and caution, the user posted a picture of him standing next to a Christmas tree, completely oblivious to the impending threat. The enigmatic nature of these comments has caused many people to speculate that Big Juke was aware of his imminent demise. The public's attention has been caught by the mysterious nature of his warning, which has contributed to the emergence of speculation regarding the reasons behind his targeted assassination. Both Big Juke's relationship with Yogatti and his continuing dispute with young Dolph are seen to have contributed to his status as a target by some. On the other hand, members of law enforcement have not yet established a direct connection between the deaths of Big Juke and young Dolph. The probe is still ongoing, and private investigators are working feverishly to uncover the facts. Community leaders and fellow musicians are crying out for an end to the vicious cycle of violence that is afflicting the music industry, despite the enormous sadness and heartache that they are experiencing. In the wake of this tragedy, they emphasize the significance of togetherness and solidarity, and they call for an end to the hostilities that have been going on. In this solemn setting, Yogatti made his first public appearance after the ordeal that he had been through. The presence of Yogatti at Little Caesars Arena elicited a range of emotions throughout the audience. It was his ability to persevere in the face of such a devastating loss that affected his fans. Diverse responses were elicited as a result of the decision to perform so soon after experiencing such personal losses. While some people respected his strength, others questioned the timing of his actions. This is a reflection of the multifaceted character of grieving as well as the unique ways in which individuals deal with loss. During the performance, Yogatti's decision to wear a bulletproof vest under his shirt served as a sharp reminder of the hazards that artists are exposed to. By highlighting the fragility and insecurity that may accompany prosperity and recognition, this striking photograph brought attention to the situation. Additionally, musician Rick Ross addressed the tragedy on social media in the midst of the conversations that were taking place about Yogatti's public presence. He placed an emphasis on the necessity of improved security and protection for artists working in a profession that is plagued by violence and called for an end to the carnage that is caused by firearms. The message that Rick Ross conveyed about the importance of community support and unity struck a chord deep within. Both the passing of Big Juke and the continued violence that occurs within the music industry bring to light the critically important need for reform. In an effort to get to the bottom of what happened with Big Juke, the Memphis Police Department is working hard to unearth the truth. Evidence is being gathered by detectives, who are also conducting interviews with witnesses and reviewing security footage. A direct connection between the killings committed by Big Juke and those committed by young Dolph has not been proved, however. For the purpose of ensuring that justice is served, Deputy Chief Paul Wright, Jr. of the Metropolitan Police Department underlined the significance of conducting a comprehensive investigation. In spite of the fact that the investigation is complicated, the detectives are determined to piece together the sequence of events that led up to the shooting and identify those who are responsible for it. The Memphis community is coming together to show their support for the efforts of law enforcement. They are aware of the significance of working together to solve this horrible crime and to bring Big Juke's family and loved ones some kind of closure to their lives. As the investigation moves forward, it is essential to take into consideration the effects that violence has had on the community as well as the necessity of coming together in the face of tragedy. The unexpected and tragic event that occurred in Memphis and throughout the music industry was the killing of Big Juke, which may have been connected to a street war that was building. In the center of this war were the long-standing rivalries that existed between the Trula Mafia and the Paper Route Empire, which was only beginning to emerge. The hostility that existed between Young Dolph and Yogatti was a contributing factor in the confrontations and violence that occurred as a result of the escalating tensions between these groups. It was the tragic culmination of this fight that Young Dolph, a young talent in the rap scene, passed away. In the southern region of the United States, places such as Miami, Houston, Atlanta, and New Orleans have been fertile environments for the development of an impressive number of great rappers. Memphis, Tennessee, on the other hand, stands out as having a notable impact on the composition of the genre. Musicians such as MJG, 8-Ball, 36 Mafia, and Project Pat are among the famous rap groups that have emerged from this area. Through the success of songs such as Down in the DM, Yogatti contributed significantly to the development of the music business. It was not enough for Yogatti to simply achieve the highest position on the charts. He also established Collective Music Group, CMG, with the intention of fostering and promoting Memphis talents such as Black Youngsta and Snooty Wild. At the same time, another rapper named Young Dolph was becoming more well-known. Although Dolph was born in Chicago, he spent his childhood in Memphis. He rapidly established a name for himself thanks to his distinctive style and lyrics. In 2010, he launched Paper Route Empire with the intention of showcasing the abilities of himself and other musicians. The emergence of Dolph in the rap industry was highlighted by collaborations with musicians such as Pee Wee Longway and Gucci Mane, as well as by critical praise. His album High Class Street Music was released in 2014, and it effectively demonstrated his entrepreneurial drive as well as his dedication to his profession. When it came to the rap game, Dolph's independence was the catalyst that led to a fight with Yogatti. He turned down record deals with major labels, including Yogatti's, since he was more interested in investing in his own talent and career. The commencement of their competition may be traced back to this choice. It was in February of 2016 when the tension that existed between Young Dolph and Yogatti became apparent. Based on the tweets that Dolph posted, it appeared like Gotti's attitude had shifted from one of appreciation to one of animosity. Indicative of the strained nature of their relationship, this was a clear indication. As soon as Young Dolph made the announcement that his debut album would be titled King of Memphis, he directly disputed Yogatti's self-proclaimed title. One interpretation of this maneuver was that it was an attempt to usurp Gotti's position. The subsequent conflict became more intense when Black Youngsta entered the fray, calling Dolph's legitimacy into doubt and intensifying the animosity between the two parties. In the midst of this confrontation, Youngsta and his crew armed themselves in Dolph's area, but they were unable to locate him. This confrontation went beyond words. The intensification of the situation provided a signal that Yogatti might be involved. Through the use of Instagram, Young Dolph was able to quietly distance himself from Gotti by spotlighting his sources of inspiration. In reaction, Black Youngsta brought out the song Shake Some, which was a direct challenge to the power that Dolph possessed. Nevertheless, Yogatti denied having any role in the occurrences in question. As soon as Dolph released Play With Yo Bitch, which was a direct attack on Yogatti, the dispute became even more intense. The song was a response to allegations that were made regarding Dolph's background and Gotti's rise to popularity. Continually exchanging insults and disclosing recordings with one another served to further widen the gap that existed between the two musicians. Despite the fact that the fight was becoming worse, Dolph played down the feud in March of 2017, putting his attention on the future. In contrast to Gotti, who did not comment on the topic, he underlined his relationships within the industry. Despite this, the two artists continued to create the basis for other dramatic occurrences to take place. The bulletproof automobile that young Dolph was driving protected him from being shot in the vicinity of Show Palace, which was a near-miss occurrence. Initially, suspicions were directed at Gotti due to the fact that both sets of artists were staying at the same hotel and there had been a recent dispute between them. On that particular evening, Dolph's furious performance of his anti-Gotti song was a clear indication of his uncompromising spirit. Especially when an associate of Yogatti was jailed for attempted murder, rumors continued to circulate that Gotti was involved in the killing of Dolph. But Gotti made it clear that he was not involved, and the suspects were eventually released without any charges being brought against them. There was a continuation of the inquiry, during which the police were looking for other suspects and investigating any connections between Gotti's group and the Trula Mafia. The public discourse got more heated, with some people pointing the finger of blame at Gotti, Juke, and CMG for the murder of Dolph. Additional gasoline was thrown to the fire by a video that claimed Big Juke had promised money in exchange for Dolph's murderous act. Acts of violence broke out in Memphis as a result of comments made about the tragedy, which caused the situation to become increasingly heated. It was believed that there was deep-seated hostility and a well-planned scheme based on the relationships between Yogatti and the brother of the suspect who was apprehended. As the inquiry advanced, Hernandez Govan was suspected of being the mastermind behind the murder of Dolph, which indicated that the Trula Mafia was involved. Because of these claims, the community's passionate feelings and need for justice were brought into sharper focus. Jamarcus Johnson, another suspect, admitted his role in the post-crime investigation, which led to his becoming an important witness. His confession may have implicated other individuals, but, due to the seriousness of the charges, the trial may not take place until a later date in the year 2024. The suspects in the murder of Dolph were members of the wider Trula Mafia organization, which is notorious for committing gang crimes and engaging in illegal activities. This became apparent as more information became available. There was a history of violent crimes committed by Justin Johnson, who was a main suspect, and he had connections to the Trula Mafia. By stealing the vehicle that was used in the murder, Cornelius Smith, another suspect, was directly involved in the crime that was committed. The fact that Chabelle Barnett was involved as an accessory after the fact only served to further implicate her in the network of organized crime actors. In this particular instance, the possible application of the RICO Act could make it possible for law enforcement to target not only specific criminals but also the entire criminal organization. Through the utilization of this potent instrument, it may be possible to dismantle the Trula Mafia and bring all of the relevant parties to justice. Yogatti's life and career were profoundly impacted by Big Juke's presence and influence. In his capacity as an older brother and a guide, Big Juke was instrumental in the development of Yogatti's abilities and in directing the course of his professional life. He was there for Yogatti through every difficulty, offering words of encouragement and making use of his connections to make opportunities available to his younger brother. Their connection went beyond the confines of the professional sphere. In spite of the contentious issues, Yogatti never wavered in his commitment to his brother, and he never abandoned him in times of need. The impact that Big Juke had on Yogatti's life and career was significant, and it greatly contributed to the development of the successful artist that he is today. The life of Big Juke, on the other hand, was not devoid of controversy, particularly in relation to the passing of young Dolph. According to the rumors that circulated, Big Juke was involved in a scheme to harm Dolph. There was a rift within the rap world about these charges, with some individuals believing the rumors and others defending Big Juke's truthfulness. Yogatti maintained his steadfast stance and denied that his brother was involved in the disaster. Big Juke's life was greatly impacted by the scandal, which had a negative impact on both his mental and emotional well-being. His life was tragically taken by a senseless act of violence, which has left a vacuum in the music industry as well as among his followers. Big Juke's passing, which took place as he was leaving a funeral, was an unexpected and shockingly painful event. Both Big Juke and young Dolph's lifestyles share startling similarities that are immediately apparent. Not only was Dolph respected for his truthful and unfiltered songs, but he was also admired for his sense of humor and his genuine concern for other people. In spite of his celebrity, he maintained his humble demeanor, through which he provided a real peek into the experiences of black people in the South. Dolph made the decision to release his music on his own, which has allowed him to achieve national popularity on his own terms. Inspiring people to take charge of their careers and making important contributions to the music industry, he was a key contributor. In his final initiative, Root Illuminati, he demonstrated his intention to inspire others who were in his immediate vicinity. Dolph had attained success in both the creative and business worlds by the time he was 36 years old. He was generous in sharing his platform with musicians who were signed to his Paper Route Empire label. As seen by the humanitarian events that he hosted in Memphis, where he offered assistance to families who were struggling, his impact stretched beyond the realm of music. The former Senator Katrina Robinson arranged annual events to remember Dolph's legacy and charity, and Representative Torres C. Harris introduced a bill to establish November 17th as the Adolph Thornton Day of Service. Both of these actions were taken in order to honor Dolph's achievements. One of the goals of this effort was to honor Dolph's contributions to the community and to inspire community service in his honor. Subscribe Rumor Spill for more videos.